Five, four, three, two, 1. This is Deductor bringing you the final match of the OSL Ro24 Group F. We have Hyuk versus Free in this game. Hyuk is actually best against Protoss. He is 59% against Protoss, which is very good, very respectable. It is his best matchup by far. On the other hand, Free has winning matchups, winning percentages in all his matchups. I believe his versus Zerg is around 55%. Certainly no slouch in that department either. This is the map La Mancha, by the way. Free is the teal Protoss at the 1 o'clock and 11 o'clock position. We have the yellow Zerg, who is Hyuk. But yeah, both players actually pretty good against their respective matchups here. Hyuk winning his losers match against Hero, I have to say, in fairly decisive fashion. His Meatless Micro was very good in that game. So here's hoping that he can exhibit the same level of play in this game. And Free playing rather underwhelmingly, almost Hyuk-esque, I have to say, the old Hyuk against Baby, losing nearly all his probes to a pair of vultures at one base, and then bleeding probes for the rest of the game. As a consequence, his economy was simply too weak to compete with Baby's. Looks like Free has scouted in the wrong direction. He is going to find Hyuk last. So, sometimes the luck of the scout does make a big difference there. It does appear that Hyuk might in fact scout in the correct direction with his Overlord. For a minute there, I thought he might be sending it cross map first, but he has angled it now to the east. So I think Free, if he sends out a second probe, no, he just wanted to send out a little bit to check, see what's going on in the front there, I guess. But he's not going to see the Overlord. He will realize soon enough, though, where Hyuk is, like right now. Hyuk has gone for the 12 hatch, it looks like, this game, and he's opted to put down his pool next. So, let's see how both players perform. Here, Hyuk is highly likely to put down the third hatchery very quickly there. As you can see, he is moving a drone to the 7 o'clock. He is checking the base just to make sure that Free isn't actually up there, and perhaps he will prevent down the expansion there. And no, it appears he is still using that drone to scout. He is going to see Free at this point with his Overlord. He needs to be very careful and not run his Overlord into the cannon. It has been known to happen to Zerg players in the past, so that would be a very silly thing to happen there, to let it happen. Free now with his probe in the main base of Hyuk here, doing his best to scout around and see what's going on. Hyuk has indeed put down his second expansion, his third base, at the 7 o'clock position. So the difference between a map like this and New Bloody Ridge, of course, is that the Zerg can get to 4 gas fairly easily there. The third base, as long as the Zerg can do some good SimCity, is going to be able to defend comfortably against any sort of onslaught by the Protoss. Well, that's assuming, of course, that the Zerg player has forces in position at both bases and can reinforce the other base as necessary. Usually, the Protoss, if they try to persist in this assault, will get their army destroyed by a competent Zerg player coming in from both the front and the back. So, a Protoss player needs to be especially wary in the PvZ games here. But sometimes Zerg players get overconfident, they get arrogant, convinced that the Protoss cannot possibly break their defenses, and react too late. In those cases, Protoss can do very well. Also, Dark Templar is a much more viable strategy on this map, for instance, due to the massive length between the bases, the massive distance. So he can kill most of the Overlords at one position, but they're still slow. And if there are no creep colonies, or rather sunken colonies or spore colonies in position to defend, there could be some serious issues for a Zerg player there. If the Corsair count is big enough, as soon as the Overlord pops out from the egg, the Corsairs can kill them very quickly. and Zerg players can absolutely be wrecked by Dark Templar. Mostly, though, Zerg players usually don't fear that because they defend fairly well these days, and they put down Spores and Sunkens just to be sure, which is kind of odd because, like, Free, for instance, if you put down 2 cannons as an insurance policy, he would be fine against all those vultures. But the Zerg players are the ones who are more apt to insure themselves against losses from a sneak attack of some sort, which I think is certainly a worthwhile investment. No sense in losing a game because you didn't put down a couple hundred mineral worth of defensive structures. I understand not doing that too early. At this point, certainly it would be premature to do so. But once you're running comfortably on 3 bases and you're setting up your 4th, at that point, there's no reason not to do so. So Hyuk starting to get 2 more hatcheries, as is standard. He's probably morphing his lair in the main. Corsair out here. Oh, he's obviously working the Spire, is what I mean to say. So that actually seems to be right on time there for Hyuk. He is going to be able to morph a pair of Scourge to deal with the Corsair here. Free opting to use his Corsair in this game to scout around, not trying to kill 2 Overlords, it appears. He is going to see everything that goes on in Hyuk's natural and main, but now he is withdrawing his Corsair. He seems to be a bit more timid here for his Air Force, at least for now. I guess he just wants to be safe and preserve his Corsair count until he can mass a good 5-6 with a +1 upgrade. Absolute devastating Scourge. Hyuk managing to sneak a single Scourge appears into Free's base, going to see the Templar Archives critically. So that is going to be very helpful information for Hyuk to know what is coming. He's put down the defensive buildings that he needs to. He's only now getting his Hydralisk dead. That's interesting. Well, actually, that's not so unusual. I just had thought that often Zerg players put it down a bit earlier than that. He has spent most of this time building up his economy further and putting down the defensive structures, getting a few more Scourge, for instance. He's also set up his base at the 7 o'clock position, the main, rather, of the 7 o'clock position. He's working quite a few defenses there. He's got Spores and Sunkens all over the front. He's playing it quite safe this game. Dark Templar going to accomplish nothing without Shuttle to ferry it into the main. Hyuk really putting down a lot of defensive buildings here. He's got 2 Sunkens and a Spore at his natural with a 3rd creep colony ready to morph as necessary. He's got 2 Sunkens at his base at the 7 o'clock position. Rather natural, that base. He is losing some Overlords there. Hyuk bringing Scourge, picking off 2 Corsairs. Nice work there by Hyuk. Free not being too careful of his Corsair count. He is going to be forced to withdraw with his Air Force. Hyuk managing to ward Free off for now, inflicting significant casualties. 2 Corsairs going down now is going to stop any sort of assault coming for Free, and critically perhaps force him to morph an Archon. I always think that is a mistake for the Protoss player early on, because before long the Zerg player is going to be able to mass up a ton of Hydralisks. 2 well-placed Storm at narrow choke points, absolutely devastating. Another Corsair going down, and Free needs to avoid bleeding his units there like that. Now Free pushing out with Archon, several Zealots. He is not going to be able to achieve anything, I fear, if he tries to assault the natural at the 7 o'clock position. Hyuk has rallied a few forces in the middle of the map. I guess they're more for scouting purposes. I mean, can't hope to take on Free's army with a paltry 7 or 8 Zerglings there. But keeping tabs on what Free is doing is always useful. Free might persist anyway with his assault. Hyuk needs to bring his Zerglings back and now perform the appropriate sandwich attack. Hyuk also needs more reinforcements. He's got drones to block these Zealots. Zealots are tearing down the evolution chamber, the front wall there, and Dark Templar coming out. Sunken being morphed. The 2 Sunkens in the back are targeting down the Archon getting killed, and these Zealots running confused now. They have managed to break down the evolution chamber. There is the Dark Templar standing there. The drones fighting. I don't know where Hyuk's forces are. He seems seems to be very slow in bringing up his reinforcements, but these Sunkens should buy enough time, I feel, for Hyuk's forces to come back and clean this up. And Free not even able to take out one of the Sunkens. He has snuck 2 Zealots into the main of the 7 o'clock to pick off a drone, but I feel this attack was definitely a failure here by Free, and more drones morphing there for Hyuk. He doesn't have to worry about additional attack for a little bit there. And even if Hyuk loses maybe another drone to his ally, he's not going to care. He suffered minimal damage. The only thing is if he were upgrading +1 Carapace from his evolution chamber that got torn down, that would be a bit of a blow. But I don't think it'll bother him too much. He can just re-research that. He'll lose some time on it. Hopefully it wasn't too close to being finished. But I don't think he's going to mind too much. Free is scared, though. He's put down tons of cannons at his natural in anticipation of a massive counterattack by Hyuk. In the meantime, he's working out High Templar, putting down more gateways. But Hyuk has actually spent this time droning up even more, getting a strong economy. Tons of drones at all his bases, it looks like. Wow, even the 7 o'clock base has a good number of drones there. 2 lurkers out, going to catch these High Templar in the middle of the field. Free losing another Corsair to Scourge there. I don't know what happened to High Templar. Hopefully he did not lose both of them to two lurkers.